show you the differences between bacteria and viruses. Consider this an ultimate match, bacteria versus viruses. Some people think that viruses and bacteria are the same thing, but they are mistaken. Although they share some similarities, they have many differences as well. I will start by talking about bacteria. Bacteria are about 1,000 times smaller than regular cells. Unlike cells, bacteria are very simple. They do not have nuclei. A nucleus is the part of the cell that contains chromosomes and controls the cell's activities. Instead, they have a string-like structure called a nucleoid. Bacteria are prokaryotes, which means that they don't have nuclei. Besides a nucleoid, which contains one measly chromosome, and some ribosomes, which make proteins, there aren't very many main parts. Bacteria move around in different ways too. They might move around using flagella, or whip-like tails to move, or they simply float around. Bacteria can enter our body in different ways too. They can enter our body by eating them, drinking them, breathing them in, swimming, touching them and then touching your eyes, nose, or open wounds, or having somebody sneeze on you. That is why it is so important to cover your mouth when sneezing. Some bacteria and viruses can only be passed through bodily fluids, such as saliva. An example of bacteria that is transferred through bodily fluids is tuberculosis, which is extremely dangerous. Tuberculosis is a respiratory disease that attacks the lungs. Most infections don't have symptoms, which is known as latent tuberculosis. However, about 1 in 10 latent infections become active, killing 50% of people infected. The most common symptoms of active tuberculosis are coughing, fevers, sweating a lot while sleeping, and unhealthy weight loss. Here I have a picture of tuberculosis infected lungs, and this is an x-ray of a man who has really bad tuberculosis in his lungs. The white arrows indicate the most badly infected areas of the lungs, and the black arrows are pointing to a cavity in the lungs where the tuberculosis got in. Tuberculosis damages the lungs, but sometimes gets into the bloodstream and damages other parts of the body. In order to fight off tuberculosis, people need to take a wide range of antibiotics for a long period of time. There is a vaccine for tuberculosis, and it decreases the chance of getting the infection in young children by 20%, and the chance of it becoming active by over 60%. It is the most widely used vaccine worldwide. Bacteria can be wiped out with antibiotics that are also prescribed by doctors. Viruses, on the other hand, are thousands of times smaller than regular cells. In fact, the largest virus found is the size of the world's smallest bacterium. Viruses also have no nuclei, and one strand of DNA, or sometimes RNA. They make you sick by landing on a cell and inserting its own genetic information. Then it uses the cell's machinery to create clones of itself. This process usually hurts or kills the cell. These clones just repeat the cycle of killing cells. Of course, there are some viruses that don't harm the cell. They multiply, then move on. Viruses are even simpler than bacteria structurally. They have a coat of protein called a capsid protecting the strand of DNA or RNA. They are also sometimes shielded by a fatty membrane, which is not shown in this model. Viruses can't be countered once they start multiplying, but can be stopped before they take action by taking vaccines, which are also prescribed by doctors. Here I have a graph that shows the United States measles cases from 1962 to 2011. As you can see, in 1962, there were between 400,000 and 500,000 measles cases in the United States alone, and that was a lot back then, making measles one of the most deadly sicknesses. But when the measles vaccine was released in 1964, you can see how many measles cases stopped happening before the 1970s, which shows how important vaccines are in the United States and worldwide. Although there are a lot of harmful bacteria and viruses in the world, most of them are not harmful and are actually helpful. The important thing to remember is to keep a clean environment and to live a healthy lifestyle. The real question now is, which is more dangerous? Well, in my opinion, they both are equal, but it's your decision. Who do you think won? Thank you for listening.